Hey guys, Jodorek here, and today's video is going over some user interface optimizations. Regardless of whatever pack you're using, or if you use a bit more of a default setup, this likely will apply to you. So, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is Plater. Now, you may notice that when I go to dummies and I activate my abilities, there is not much in the way of debuffs that show up on the mobs. I have my Hunt Dot, I have Demon Muzzle, I have my Reaver's Mark. Where's everything else? So what you should do with Plater is this. When you come into Plater, on the second row, second in, there's buff tracking. And on buff tracking, you want to blacklist all of these. Now, bombardments is from evokers, so not really as important as the other ones. But let me take a screenshot of that and then close these all off here. And now when I go back to the dummy and I hit... Let me go to a Mythic Plus setup for this specifically. When I hit Blade Dance, you're going to see a billion debuffs pop up. And you don't need to see any of these. Chaos Brand, permanently up from this point forward. Soul Scar, just a almost permanent dot every time a Throw Glaive hits a target. It's based on the damage that goes out. You have Serrated Glaive again every time that your Throw Glaive hits a target. That's going to be applied. I had Sigil of Flame there. Don't need to care about that. You'll have Burning Wound out on 3 targets. You have Master of the Glaive, which is a slow that's up most of the time. You don't need to see any of this. It's just going to clutter up everything, and then when it comes down to it, and you're trying to look at what's going on, and then you're going, okay, I can't see where's my Reaver's Mark? Well, it's going to be a lot easier to see if you get rid of all this clutter. There's also Trail of Ruin, just a dot from Blade Dance. You don't need to see any of this. So, again, you're going to open up your Plater. You're going to add these debuffs by name. So I'm going to have them on my screen here. And you just type it into the box. Burning Wound by name. Chaos Brand. Master of the Glaive. Serrated Glaive. Sigil of Flame. You don't need to do Sigil of Flame, but I do it because I just don't need to see it. Soul Scar, and Trail of Ruin. And that will make it so that when you're going back to your target, you're not going to have all those debuffs that simply do not need to be on your screen, and you'll only see more useful things, like that I get 10% healing on this target, because it's the one I hunted, and where my Reaver's Mark is. It's a lot more obvious. That is the main one that I want to go over. This is something that every time I do a coaching session or look at people's UIs, I point out because almost nobody has any of these debuffs removed, and you simply do not ever need to be seeing them. So get rid of that clutter. It'll help out. Now, next is weak auras. There are things that you can remove from your buff bar. Now, the buff bar is pretty common across most UIs, and you can see all these buffs going off my screen here. This is my buff bar. So, you can see that I track, for example, Inner Demon, but I have Furious Gaze, which you can see on my actual buffs up here. 10% haste for my beam. It's about a 50% uptime. You simply do not need to have that tracked. So that's something that I've deleted from my buff bar, even though I used to have it ages ago. And I know a lot of the common UIs now also track that. Something else will be, if I use my combo here, you'll see that I am tracking the purple Thrill the Fight debuff. But if there's 2 Thrill the Fight debuffs, I believe Atrocity UI has since removed this, but I know previous versions still had the attack speed version, which is listed up here, 442695. If that's listed in your weak aura, just remove it so that it's no longer showing up. Another one that's really common is having your Reaver's Glaive glow when you have one active. Personally, I greatly recommend removing that, as it does incentivize that if it's glowing, you want to press it. But if you watch my gameplay, especially in Mythic Plus, I almost always have a Reaver's Glaive up. You should, in a lot of cases, just have it up. So you really don't need a glow on it. You do need a good tracker, but if you don't want to have it glowing anymore, where it's just kind of telling you to push it instantly, then you're going to want to get rid of it. And that's pretty easy to find. Depending, it's going to again, change based on what you're looking at, but you should find one named Art of the Glaive or Reaver's Glaive, something like that. And then if there's a glow, you might see like glow 1. Simply just hit delete on it and it will no longer glow. This is something, again, I do recommend doing, as you're not supposed to spend them literally every single time they come up. There's a lot of situations where that is simply not the case. So just be aware of that, and if that's something that you have going on with your UI, get rid of that as well. And that's everything that I had to cover in this video. A rather short one, just wanted to make this to maybe help someone that hasn't been aware of this and hasn't really optimized your UI. But getting rid of that clutter can help. It'll probably help you with being more aware of mechanics and everything in polls. Just having less on your screen at any given time of useless information is typically a good thing. Something else that you can watch out for is possibly like double damage numbers I've seen where people have nameplate scrolling combat text and blizzard numbers on. You can also get rid of some of your scrolling combat text. Just take a look around your screen, and if you watch your gameplay and there's just a lot going on that you don't look at and you're trying to see past while you're playing, think about removing it. Thank you all for watching. I do greatly appreciate you. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to keep up to date with Havoc or like my content, I'd appreciate a follow on my channel as well. I did have my Felskard and Eldrachi Mythic Plus guides come out already this season, and those will be linked in the description down below. So if you haven't watched those yet, you can watch those below. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.